For this lesson, we're going to be talking a little bit more about fiction, specifically characters and setting, which are two important parts of fiction. So the first thing we're going to talk about is characters. Characters are an important part of fiction. They often have different traits or qualities that make stories interesting and help drive the plot. Discovering what characters are like helps us understand their actions. Because characters affect the plot, this helps us better understand the events that happen in a story as well. By understanding the characters, we can also often learn things about ourselves or other people in the world around us. So we learn about them by paying attention to the details. We observe these characters, we listen to them, we take note of their thoughts and their ideas, and we can also learn a lot by noticing how other people react to them. So we can think about who they are, their name, their age, what happened in their life, meaning history, so the history of their life, what happened with their family, their siblings, their parents when they were a child, if they're a grown-up, or maybe just earlier in their life. That's all important for understanding. We can think about what the character looks like. Okay, if that can often play a really important role. If you've read the book Wonder, what Augie looks like plays a huge role in it. We can also think about what feelings the character expresses. Do they often express sadness, or do they express more anger? That can tell us a lot about a character and what they're like. We can ask ourselves why they might be expressing those different feelings. We can think about what does the character think about? What does the character talk about? That can tell us what they're interested in or what motivates them to do what they're doing. Do they think a lot about their family? Do they think a lot about making money? Do they talk a lot about running away? All these things help us understand the characters, which then helps us understand the story better. We can think about what the character actually does. How does the character interact with others? Do they get along well? Are they lonely? Do they have a lot of friends? Do they yell at people a lot? And all these things work together. It's not like I'm just going to think about what they do. I also want to think about their feelings or what they talk about. How do others describe this character? So what do other people say? And then how the character describes others. So what are they saying about other people? And it's interesting because some characters will, show some of these more than others. And don't feel like as you're reading you need to stress out and think, oh my gosh, there are so many questions I need to ask myself. But just notice things about the character. Okay, maybe you notice that the character gets angry a lot. Keep looking for things like that. That can really help tell you things about the character. Maybe that stands out more than anything else. Maybe you notice that they often talk about their brother or sister who lives in a different place, and you can tell that is really motivating them to maybe want to go visit that brother or sister. And over it might keep showing up. So again, it's not like something we need to stress over looking for, but just pay attention to the character and really try to understand what's going on with them. Another part that's important in fiction is the setting. Okay, the setting is when a story happens and where a story happens. Because if a story happens in modern times versus if a story happens in 100 years ago or 500 years ago, that's going to play a big difference in what the story's like and what happens in the story. Same thing if the story happens, maybe it's modern day, but if it's in Iran versus in the United States or in Mexico or in the middle of the ocean on a boat, that is also going to definitely affect the story. So we want to look for those things. We can look for date and time words. So it might tell us the year. Maybe it tells us like in the morning or at night. We're looking for details about where, like a house on the hill in the darkest reaches of the ocean. So that's going to make a big difference, and we want to pay attention to that. If there are illustrations or maybe photographs of some kind, that can help give us clues. Maybe we can make some inferences in what we already know. Based on the fact if it happens in a certain country, we can think about what we know about that country. Or maybe if they say it happened in the 1700s, then maybe you know that the Revolutionary War took place in the 1700s. So the United States wasn't even a country yet. And that, you'll know that affected the story. It can help us visualize it by really picturing truly what's going on. Because if I picture it in the middle of the ocean, but it's actually in the middle of a desert, that makes a difference. So we want to be able to visualize what's going on. Story clues can show changes in the setting, so shifts in time and place. If we're moving forward in time, that matters. If we're moving to a different place, that matters. Setting can indicate how a character might act or what a character might say. So, girls didn't used to be able to go to school like boys did. So that might be why a character is acting a certain way. And it would be helpful to know that that's why that's happening. It's like, oh, okay, this was in this certain time and place when this thing was more common or less common. And setting affects the overall mood of the story. So if it's a dark and gloomy night, that's going to be a very different feeling than if it's a bright and sunshiny day. Okay? Setting is important. We can gain information about the characters, the plot, understand their thoughts and their actions. So pay attention to that while you're reading. Again, I know it's another thing to pay attention to, but a lot of it we do naturally. But just make sure that you're noticing, okay, when is this taking place? Where is this taking place? And how does that affect the people in the story and what's going on? You're going to be writing about a book that you're currently reading or one that you read not too long ago. I'd encourage you to not go back too far. Maybe find a picture book on Tumble Books or Storyline Online or a book on Mackinvia to read and then practice talking about the character. Pick one character to talk about and then identify the setting, so the place and the time. Good luck!